We're Hasani and Danielle Pettiford, and we're a real couple with real problems who almost called it quits.
I was very frustrated. I became very disconnected, very jaded and cold.
We have 4 children, going on 20 years of marriage, and we practice what we preach.
Our mission, to change the way couples relate to one another and teach them the skills needed to improve the quality of their relationships. This is the Couples Academy Show.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Couples Academy Show. My name is Hasani. I'm Hasani. Who are you? Are you? We're going to do this again. Good morning, everyone. My name is Hasani.
And I'm Lakeesha.
And we are here to be with you this morning talking about relationships. We started a conversation on yesterday, how to reconcile after separation. And we're going to do part 2 of that because there's a number of other strategies and things that you need to do to ensure that you're moving back into a healthy space within that household, because in essence you want something different, you want something more, you want something better. And that's what we're going to talk about. A couple announcements before we get started. Next Saturday, September the 3rd. No, this is something different, Lakeesha. September is a busy month. We have our money masterclass for all of you moving forward members who you know that it comes with master classes quarterly throughout the year. And for all of our existing clients and those who are part of the community, there is a money masterclass. Now, what perfect timing. We've hit a recession. Things are going crazy. Prices are going up. You know, people are dealing with all types of financial struggles in their relationship, and everybody's struggle is completely different. So you'll have an opportunity to participate in that. There will be a link that you can click on to register. Is next Saturday from 3 to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have some phenomenal financial experts who are going to be coming on and sharing strategy and implementation on how to turn your financial situation into a place that you're happy with. Yes.
I'm offended. I have the Couples Academy app. I know what's happening. I know what's going on next weekend.
This is true. This is true. This is true. You do.
I know.
And thanks for saying that. You know what? And for all of you who do have the app, you would know that masterclass is coming up. If you're not aware, download the app today and let's get started. Last Chance Weekend is happening the 3rd weekend of September. Usually it's the 2nd weekend, but that's the Unearthed Retreat. So there's a lot going on. Are you excited about the Unearthed Retreat?
I'm so excited. I can't wait. Listen, do you know, Hasani, there's a Marco Polo group going with the ladies for Unearthed. And when I tell you these ladies are going in, like we are already connected, we are already feeling like sisters. Like we all we need now is just to be occupying the same space. Like our hearts are already connected. So yes, I'm excited. I can't wait.
It's going to feel like a reunion. And that's the one thing about it. Like, you don't have to wait till you get there to meet, because, you know, it's awkward and weird and strange. And who are you? And you know, this one's sizing you up and looking you up and down. And I don't know about this one and that person. But you're forming this relationship. And what happens is when you gel prior to, it makes the weekend even better. And you have relationships that last for a lifetime. So if you listening right now, feel like, you know what, I'm alone on an island all by myself. I need relationship. I need sisterhood. I need community. Oh, yeah. And I need to be empowered to transform my life. I need to be a part of this Unearthed Retreat. So take a look at this. We'll be right back and get started with today's conversation. That's right. I'm excited about it, and I'm not even going to be there. So listen, guys, or gals, I should say, register today. I just want to acknowledge some of the people who are here. Daryl, good morning from South Carolina. Sandy, good morning from Maryland. Noku, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, from South Africa, one of my favorite places to be on the planet. I love that country. It's like my second home. In addition to a few other countries as well. Wherever you're from is my second home, folks, just so you know that. But listen, we're talking about how to reconcile after, or I'm sorry, how to reconcile, after separation. So we're going to dive right back into the conversation. One of the things that you want to make sure is happening in your relationship is that you don't take each other for granted, that you recognize each other's wisdom, each other's insight, each other's perspective. Because I think a lot of times we dismiss our spouse, like our spouse is valued for what they offer and what they bring the world everywhere else but in the household a lot of times. And the reality is, it's okay to seek advice from
Yeah.
your spouse. It's okay to get their perspective and their insight, because you may be surprised at how their perspective can help you in your situation. And that's the power of partnership. You
Mhm.
don't have to have an adversarial, competitive, opponent like relational dynamic in your household. I see a lot of times where couples are competing with each other, jealous of each other's success, and it's just like, this is crazy. The power of your spouse, speaks to your ability to properly select. So why would you not tap into their brilliance and their greatness? But when you begin to do that, especially when you're in a separated state, it's kind of like a reminder that, okay, maybe this thing can work, right? The partnership aspect of our relationship can begin to jive because we're leaning into each other instead of reaching in other directions, seeking advice from other people. So that advice piece is a huge thing, Lakeisha.
I like the competition. Not against each other, but instead of it being team me, it's team we, right? So
Yes,
I like the competition. I like how, the whole one of the foundational principles and things that we strive for at Couples Academy is that you become a team, right? It's Hasani, you say this all the time. You're fighting for your last name, not your first name. So
correct.
there's Team Pettiford over there. So it's us against the world. It's
That's
us
right.
competing against everybody else. People know, on a lighter note, people know when they come into our house, we get a good spades game going, or we getting something because we do game nights, and no
You
one
let
will beat
people
us.
beat you up in spades in your own home.
Nobody is beating me up in my own home. What are you talking about? I said it's Team Hines against everyone else. So no one comes into this home and beat us. Like, it's just not happening. But seriously, it really is about you guys finding the strengths that you have individually and putting those strengths together to create a solid team and a successful team. And the more we're fighting against one another, the more we're just going in circles and we're not reaching the goals and accomplishing what it is that we want to accomplish. So, asking for advice from each other, sometimes that's hard, I think, Asani, too, because if you've been rejecting the advice of your spouse for a really long time, it takes a certain level of humbleness
It
to come
does.
back and say, you know what? I should have been listening to you, and I'm sorry that I wasn't listening to you before. Please forgive me. I recognize your brilliance, and I want to capitalize on that. Let's put these two creative minds together and create something phenomenal and powerful.
Absolutely, I totally agree. All right, there's a whole lot in here. Let's go to the next one. What say you?
Okay, so like this is me all day long, compassionate and caring. Like, this is something that I strive to be and do every single day. In fact, I had a devotional with my kids this morning, and we were talking about, like all this week we're talking about love, and we're talking about how we can love on someone else this week.
Mm,
Like, do something for someone else this week that is a sacrifice, right? And that takes caring, concern, that takes compassion for you to want to go outside of yourself, inconvenience yourself to do something for someone else. And for me, it's a perfect segue into the next point, which is when you are thinking that there's a possibility that we might be able to reconcile is if that spouse is still checking up on you. The reason why they check up on you is because they still care, because they do have compassion, right? So they're checking on you because they want to make sure you're okay. And I want to give you an example of a couple, one of my couples that I've been working with. They had separated, right? But the husband was still coming over, changing the light bulbs and making sure that the alarm system was working. And sometimes would take the trash out and still doing different things. Why? Because he was checking up on his wife and checking up on his kids and checking up on his family because he still cares, because he has compassion for her and his family. And that's a really good sign that you guys might be able to bring this thing back together.
I think that last point is very important because, we have worked with a lot of couples who have been
Mhm.
separated for months to years, and literally there has been no conversation, no interaction. And it does make us feel some type of way because guess what? Technically, we're still married.
Right.
And you don't know what's going on with me. You don't know what level of crisis I may be in. And so to check in just to say, hey, how you doing? Is everything okay? Check in with me relationally. But to your point, there are things that need to be done, possibly. There are financial responsibilities that still need to be honored. Like you're still married, you're just
Mhm.
in a different relational space within the confines of your marriage. So those responsibilities and those expectations still have to be really have to be honored and met. So I agree with you 1000%. And that kind of contributes to the next one we need we need to talk about. And here's the deal, guys. If you're considering reconciling, it is important that you sit down with your partner and you begin to establish certain goals of what it is that you want to accomplish as a couple. Those goals can be relational goals, of course, because you're trying to reconcile your relationship within the marriage, but
Mhm.
also spiritual goals and you know, financial goals and goals for the children and goals of what life looks like beyond today. Like I hear a lot of people say, I just don't know what's going to happen. We'll see what life offers us. And I think that's a very passive,
Passive.
reactionary approach. And I think it doesn't serve you because if you're not intentional in going after what you want, then you're going to be a slave to your circumstances, and
Mhm.
that may not put you in the place where you ultimately want to be. And so one of the things you don't wait to see what the future beholds. You create the future that you want, and you pull your future into your present. That's how you do it. And so I just think that if you don't have a clear roadmap, a blueprint, a plan, a course of action about how you move forward relationally, then you're going to slowly but surely creep into the same old patterns because you have no vision. The Bible says that where there is no vision, the
The
people
people
perish.
perish.
Likewise, where there is no vision, a marriage, a relationship will perish. So, what does life look like beyond today? If you don't have a clear understanding of what that is, I would suggest that you push pause on moving forward and define what that looks like and then begin to move forward. Last point. Like we say that I've probably said this 1,000 times. You don't get on a plane before you know your destination. You don't buy a ticket before you know your destination. You don't pack a bag before you know your destination. The point is the destination has to already be determined before you take your journey. Now, you don't get in a car and just say, we just going to drive and wherever it takes us, it takes us. I mean, unless you're doing something leisure to connect. But generally speaking, you know where you want to go. Listen, I'm going down to Tampa for a little 3-day vacation. I'm going to Lakeesha's house. She gonna cook. She gonna clean. She gonna set it up right. We know where we're going, and then we get on the road and get there. We don't figure it out along the way. And relationally, we've been doing that for too long, and that's why we wind up in the same pit that we just got out of.
You better have a plan if you coming to my house. You better let me know. You better announce and let me know that you're coming so I can prepare for you. But I just wanted to add on, you're absolutely right. I 100% agree. Like, you can't live in this reactive state. We have to be proactive with what it is that we're doing. People are walking around every single day so stressed out, and oftentimes they're stressed because they're reacting to everything. But you can control some of this by creating goals and being proactive with what it is that you want to do. This is something that I do at the beginning of every single year with my husband. Like literally, we map out our individual goals, our marriage goals, goals for our kids, goals for our nonprofit. Like we map out everything because, like you said, without vision, the people perish. And the Bible also says, write the vision and make it plain. So we try to make sure that we do that at the beginning of every single year. So I love it. All right, Mr. Pettiford. One of the things that I know for sure is extremely important to you, besides goals, and it's important for me too, is to make sure that I understand. I
Mm,
have to make sure that I have understanding. Like I can't move forward if I don't have a plan, one. But also if I don't understand what is going on, it's difficult for me and I think most people to move forward if they don't understand what's going on in their relationship, in their spouse's mind. So if we're talking about reconciling, then we definitely have to understand each other's viewpoints. We have to understand where the other person's coming from. And when you say sit down and talk about goals, I think in that conversation also, we're discussing wants, wishes, desires. We're discussing expectations. So we need to have an understanding of those things so that, again, when you do come back together, everybody's on the same page and it's clear with what it is that we want from each other and we know exactly what we're working toward.
absolutely. I agree with that 1000%. I want to bring this next point up, and I want to, kind of digress for a second because we have you here and you're the sex coach, and then we'll get back on track. But one of the things that's important that you want to have reestablished in your relationship is attraction, right?
Hmm.
Obviously, when you two came together, we say this all the time. When relationships are initiated by two things: physical attraction and emotional desirability.
Hmm.
And that usually is what you experience and feel in the beginning of a relationship, right? And then over the course of time, it becomes, normalized and, whatever. And so some people may lose the attraction for their spouse. And usually the attraction sometimes could be because you physically look different, but a lot of times it's because I'm not emotionally connected with you anymore.
Yep.
And until we reestablish this emotional connection, it's going to be hard being physically drawn to you. And I think this is important because I see two things happen. Number one, people who are separated with a purpose continue to come together sexually during that separation. So I want you to speak to that. Is that good? Is that bad? But then also, once a couple has decided to reconcile and move back into the relationship, it's a sexual drought because of other unresolved issues that they haven't properly addressed. And now there's no sexual tension, no sexual interaction with them at all. So you're dealing with two things: those who still continue to engage while they're separated, and even when those who come back into the household, they don't engage, even though they both may want to. There's like this internal break or resistance that's keeping them from doing that. So, how do you speak into those two scenarios?
Wow, like that's a loaded question. But I'm here for it. I love it. So, all right. So for the folks who are still attracted, that's awesome. That's great. That's a good sign. And for those who come together and, continue to engage in sexual activity, whatever it is, you're married. So okay, cool. The only thing that I caution against is if you jump in and you haven't had a conversation. That can actually create more harm than good if you
Mm,
guys start back having sex and you have not had a conversation about what are we doing and where's this relationship going. If you guys agree that, you know what, we don't know what we're doing relationally, but I want some, you want some, we still married, let's do it. Okay, cool. That's fine too. But there needs to be a conversation. There needs to be an agreement because oftentimes one person will yield, right? One wants to have sex, the other one doesn't really because I'm unsure, I don't know what's going on, but they'll yield because of fear
mm,
that you may not come back, fear that you might cheat, fear that if I don't do it, then you're going to be mad at me. You're going to look at me different. But it's not really something that they want to do because they're not emotionally ready. And that can cause more harm again than good. So you want to make sure that you guys are on the same page if you do decide to engage. So for those of you who get back together and there's that drought, a lot of times that's because it's unhealed hurt and there may be unforgiveness there that you guys have not dealt with. Why did you separate in the first place? Have you dealt with those issues? And so, whether you choose to have sex or you choose not to have sex, no matter what, you have to deal with whatever was going on relationally that caused you guys to separate in the first place. Otherwise, you're just putting a band aid on the problem. And we do try to fix our problems a lot of times with sex and other things, but it's not going to fix it. It's only going to make it worse. So,
I think that's an excellent point you just made. We try to fix our problems through sex, and it winds up making things worse because, if it's a great sexual experience and you're feeling good, you'll mistake those physical feelings for, okay, we're in a better place now. And
right.
these are the couples who crash and burn and crazy. It's like passion is a two-sided coin. On one side, oh my
Mhm.
God, all this passion. And because we have unresolved issues, now it becomes like passion, and we're constantly going back and forth. And I can't trust this inconsistency. And what is this? And it makes you want to just tap out. But I think
Hasani,
what,
also, hold on.
yeah,
You said something powerful there because you know what? Sometimes that also can turn into negative aggression in the bedroom. You're taking out your frustrations on your partner. This is a way where this can be harmful and not be a good thing. So, yeah.
here's a great question for you, from Darlene. What if you come back together and when you're having sex, you know that there's some new activities going on that probably came from the relationship, I guess from the other relationship is in essence
Mhm.
what she's saying.
Yeah, so Darlene, that's a conversation because you know what? Don't assume that it did. Don't assume that it didn't. It's a conversation. And this is where these conversations can get real tricky. This is one of those crucial conversations because if you're uncomfortable when you are engaging in any type of sexual activity with your spouse, that's a problem. And you guys have to address that. You have to talk about that. It could have come from that. It could have came from porn. It could have come, you don't know. There's all types of articles and things out there that people can read to educate them about different things that they can try and do in the bedroom. And let's be real, we have conversations sometimes with our girlfriends and with our guy friends, and they tell us things too that we might want to try and implement in the bedroom. So it's a conversation that you have with your spouse. And if it does actually come back that it came from some type of encounter that he had from his other relationship, then you let him know you're uncomfortable with that.
You know,
Okay, so we just lost Asani temporarily. Yeah, so Darlene, hopefully that helps you because again, I completely understand how that would be uncomfortable. And you got to be open and honest with your spouse and let them know like you're not okay with that. So,
I
welcome
think I
back,
dropped off.
Asani.
I think I dropped off by mistake. I was just like, nobody cares about these points we're making. All they want to talk about is sex. Another question just came in. I want to pull this up. It says, "We are separated and have sex, but sometimes it doesn't feel right. What I what if a good what is a good way to present my feelings without hurting my partner? I was the one at fault."
Ooh, okay, Francesca. So, oh, and she says sometimes feel he uses sex to subside pain. Okay, so that could be why it doesn't feel right to you because you feel like he's trying to use sex to fix whatever is going on in your relationship. And so, what's a good way to present your feelings without hurting your partner? I mean, you just have to be honest with him. You have to let him know that, listen, I have concerns that maybe there's still some unresolved issues, maybe there's still some unhealed hurt in our relationship, and I want to know, do you feel that way? Is this true for you? And to really try to engage in that conversation to get him to dig a little deeper and explore what it is that he's feeling. When we make assumptions or we start guessing about things, is because we're not having enough open dialogue with our partners. You should not have to be figuring out in your mind or trying to problem solve or troubleshoot or analyze. Like, you should be able to go to your partner and have a conversation. And if you guys can't do it, call me. I got you. I can do it with you. But you definitely need to talk to him. You
Do
definitely
what
need to
with
let him
you?
know. You need to call me so that I can assist you. Book a session with me
I
so
just
that
heard
I
do it
can
with you. I didn't.
assist.
Gotcha.
Said,
But
call me on my personal cell phone.
but Lakeisha, to her point and to the point you were making earlier, sometimes it's okay to push pause for a period of time when it comes to sex because it does confuse things. Like when you
Yes.
think about initiating a relationship, a lot of times people have sex way too soon
Yes.
and they experience what we call relationship developmental lag,
Right.
meaning that if we've been seeing each other for a couple of days or weeks and we start having sex,
Mhm.
well, let's just say you've been together for a year now, but you
Mm.
started having sex week 3. According to relationship developmental lag, your relationship's only 3 weeks old in some cases. Why? Because the main focus of your conversation, your interaction, your connection is sex.
Right.
And there were other aspects of the relationship that did not properly develop. There was a lag. It improperly developed because you shifted focus. So
Right.
when you're in a separated state, sometimes it may be good to do a sex fast, or said another way, an intimacy challenge where you begin to reconnect emotionally, intellectually, and spiritually, and make sure that that's in order so
Right.
that sex doesn't seem manipulative. Sex isn't being used as a form of control. Sex isn't being used to pacify. It's
Yep.
not being used for the wrong reason. So that feeling that you have is no longer there. It literally feels, oh, this feels right. Because sex without intimacy can feel empty and cold and shallow. It can feel like, yeah, we had some physical interaction, but I still feel deprived of all the other things that we need to make this relationship work.
Yes.
So having the right foundation for the sexual intimacy, I think, is critically important.
I 100% agree. And I also think that it's really important for those couples who may be questioning, like maybe there's a spouse that's questioning whether or not all the spouse wants them for is sex. That is a good time to do a sex fast so we can focus on other aspects of our relationship. So I
Absolutely.
love that, Hasani, because that's going to either confirm or correct your suspicions, your thought process that that's all that they want from you if we're able to pause
Hmm.
and focus on some other aspects of our relationship. I want to point out too that Francesca went on to ask, is setting sex agreements a good tactic? Yes, absolutely. There are times where, you will do these challenges where you're going to try different things sexually. That's an agreement. There are times where you're going to say, we're going to fast, do a sex fast for a time. That's an agreement. There are times where you say certain aspects of sex we're not going to engage in for a time because we just need to. That's an agreement. So absolutely, 100%. I'm here for that.
LaShawn says, my husband and I are separated, but still doing things as a married couple. I've moved into my own place, but I spend every night at my old apartment with my husband. I'm so confused. I can understand why you're confused, because the question is, well, what were you separated for? What was the reason you separated in the first place? Like, and if you're with him every single night and all you do is go to your own separate places at the end of the night, then what is the purpose of your separation? So when we talk about a
Right.
controlled separation, it has a purpose. There's an agenda. There are specific things that you need to do. Sometimes a separation actually is a good thing because it gives you time to reflect and think through things and process and really tap into the relationship with yourself, right? So if we're going to have a good husband and wife relationship, it's predicated upon me having a healthy relationship with myself and with my creator. And during that separate time, it allows me time to get back into an alignment with myself and with him, which will then impact this relationship. So, I would say reach out to us, maybe set up a session so we could discuss what your goals are, what the intentions are, what you hope to get out of it, because doing more of the same will just get you more of the same.
Yep. Hasani, one last, I mean, you're the host, you're the boss, so you tell us when we're done, but this question was so good. So Jay says, my spouse had an affair we have decided to move forward and work on our marriage. Lately, I don't feel like having sex with her because of her lack of showing up every day. Jay, this is common. It really is. You need to tune in to SOS next week, Tuesday,
Mm.
9 p.m., where we are addressing withholding sex. So I really, really want you to check in next week because I got you. I got you next week.
Listen, I love it. I appreciate the fact that people are chiming in on this particular topic. It makes me think that they're like, bump this relational stuff. We need to talk about
They
sex more.
always want to talk about sex when I show up now.
Because they know that you are the expert on that. Listen, guys, I hope you enjoyed what we had to share today. Tomorrow is relationship Q&A, Ask the Expert. So come prepared with your questions so that we can dive in deep. But until then, have a wonderful day, and we will see you in the AM. Take care.